Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm starting my Valentine's Day series for this year using the super sweet moose stamp from the December Scrappin' for Less card kit. I'm also going to be using the Fawn Polka heart backdrop for the background. So first I'm going to work on that background, and I've got a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I'm applying Distress Oxide inks. I'm starting with Fired Brick, and I'm using mainly that one like around the edges because it is just a smidgen darker. And then I'll go in with Candied Apple. Oh, I guess I started with Candied Apple first, and then I decided I'm going to darken up the edges with Fired Brick. And it looks a whole lot darker in the tin than it does on paper. Anyhow, once I have the edges added, then I go in with the Candied Apple, and I'm going to go across the entire panel. And then I just go back and forth between the two colors, adding and blending where one stops and the other one starts, just for a nice, smooth, even look. And then I can spray some water using my Distress sprayer, and I kind of like to control that, and so the way I aim that sprayer is I press it fast and slow at the same time, if that makes sense. That way I get some nice large drops, and I get some nice small droplets of water. So I've got the panel now die cut, and it is an A2 sized panel, and for whatever reason my machine did not, it cut the hearts out, but it didn't cut them all the way through, so I just used the little Sizzix tool to pop those little pieces out of place. So now I'm going to work on the main image of the card, and I'm taking a piece of Nina Solar White. This is the 80-pound cardstock, and I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I'm going to stamp out the moose a couple of times. And it's not typically what you would use for Valentine's Day, but I'm going to fix that. And he is going to look very Valentine's-y by the time I'm done. So to spruce him up a bit and make him more of Valentine's Day related, I'm taking my EK Tools journaling pen, and this is the 1/4 millimeter thickness, and I'm just drawing in some hearts hanging off of his antlers on some string. And I think he just looks so adorable that way. Or they look adorable because there's two of them. And once it's all colored in, I think it just really looks adorable. So there they are, and I've colored them in using my Copic markers. And I've also used my Scan and Cut machine to die cut them. To work on the background, I thought the least messy of all my adhesives that I have would be this Nuvo glue pen. And then I'm just taking that and kind of just drawing it all over the background. And I've got a white card base that I'm going to adhere that directly to. And then I'll clean my area so I don't glue the background down by mistake. And press that firmly into place. And then that bit that hangs off, I can just trim that using my scissors. And then I took a pattern paper that I'm trimming up, and I love combining red and black. So I thought this piece went well at the base of the card. And then I'll adhere that into place and trim off anything that overhangs. Had a little hard time getting that on straight, but I think I eventually get it. So for this card, I'm actually following a sketch, and I will try to link that below. In the sketch, across the bottom strip, there is a shape. So I thought, since this was my Valentine's Day card, I thought I would use a heart. And I'm using the Hero Arts Infinity dies for that. And I just created a piece of red cardstock that would basically match the background that I've created by doing the same thing. Adding fired brick around the edges and adding candied apple across the entire background. So then I'll create some more water splatters and clean that up, and then I can just die cut my heart out of the cardstock. The sentiment for this card reads, "Have a snuggly day." It's also from the same stamp set. And I'm gonna use the stitched banner dies from Cat Scrappiness to cut out my sentiment, because this is, I think they're called closed dies. I can't really see if I've got my sentiment aligned correctly against the die, so I just made a little template that I've cut out of some relatively thin cardstock that I can use as my guide to know where to stamp. And then I'm putting that onto a piece of black cardstock, and I'll use my embossing bag over that just to get rid of any static. And then using the Versamark, I'll go ahead and stamp that sentiment down. Sorry about my head all in the way. I just had to make sure it was straight. And then I'm going to use some white embossing powder and heat set that with my tool. And that little template really comes in handy to make it straight. So here I'm ready to start putting my card together, and the little red heart is sort of getting lost against that background since they are same shade of red. And I'm going to use the one size bigger die than previously and die cut a piece of black cardstock so that I can attach them together and make my little sentiment piece really pop. So I've got all of those pieces adhered together, and then I'm going to use a little bit of foam tape, or fun foam rather, to pop that up. I also use some fun foam pieces to pop up my two images, and then I can adhere them just above the sentiment. It took a little minute to get all those tiny pieces cut and adhered. And then I typically use liquid glue to add those to the fun foam, because it just gives me a little bit of wiggle room so that I can place them according to where I want them. So anyway, that will finish off my first Valentine's Day card in this series. Please let me know what you think of that. Is this something that like you would give to your significant other, or would you give this type of a card to a friend? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.